John Felt here, and this is the weekly weather briefing for October 27th, 2019. Well, right now we have a number of weather impacts going on across the nation. We have certainly the significant fire danger, the ongoing and future fire danger across parts of California. Winter storm across parts of the Rockies, and a wind and rain event moving across parts of the northeast U.S. Now, this was a system, it was a very weak tropical system in the Gulf. Moved up, Tropical Storm Olga before it pushed in. And this was yesterday, Saturday, and boy, I tell you, it streamed moisture well inland, way up, as far north as Chicago with some heavy rain. Matter of fact, I was driving yesterday from Louisville to St. Louis, and it rained the entire area through there. So a soaking widespread rain. And I'll show you in a minute the reason it moved so fast. Well, here's it today, and you can see it's affecting the northeast U.S. Circulation way up here, but it's really cleared out behind it. Clear and dry air and conditions. So it's moved very quick. We take a look at a surface map. Well, here's the front, but we're having these series of fronts here, and each one's bringing down colder air, and each one's bringing a chance of rain and snow with it. So we're really getting in a very active time of the year for the next maybe week, and then it looks like it might settle down with some more stable type pattern. Now, the heavy rain last week with the remains of the tropical system that streamed inland, really 3 to 5 inches of rain locally, more along the immediate Louisiana coast, but that 1 to 3 inch rain pushed well inland, producing some needed rain in spots, other spots nuisance type rain. So right now the moisture, the dew points in the 60s and 70s is pushing off to the east, and we're getting a large part of the nation, a majority of the nation, in unusually dry dew points here, really dry air. Now we do have some wet areas. Now, one of the reasons I took a sort of a route through this route here is I wanted to look at the eastern Corn Belt as far as the progress of harvesting. Now the eastern Corn Belt's been a lot drier, and there's been a lot of work here able to be done because the fields are dry. But on the other hand, from a national perspective, we're only at 30% harvest. So there's still a lot to be done. So whenever we get things like this, these soggy fields that delay conditions, or these widespread rain or snow, which I'll be talking about conditions, it just slows things down. So I think you're going to be hearing more about that, because really there is, some of this is due to the wet fields as we went through the summer. Some of this is due to the delayed early season planting. Now, I've got a post coming out on this week, so I'm going to hold off, talk about that a little bit later. Okay, so here we go. As far as the tropics, it looks quiet. Don't see anything. We really are now getting in the time of the year where the probabilities are really decreasing. So I probably won't show this too much anymore unless I see something out there in the tropics that might develop. We can get something in November, and we have, but the odds are going down very, very quickly. So because of the recent rain, we have high flows in this area. Because of the past rain, we have high flows in this area. So a lot of high flows in the middle part of the U.S. Okay, so we look at the jet stream, we see a very active jet stream. This is the first system right here, and what it has, these shades of color are wind speeds, and that relates to atmospheric energy. So this system very rapidly pushed off to the northeast, and that's why this system pushed through so quickly. Now here's the second one. It's all rotating around this area of low pressure, and what we have here is we have a very deep trough, and this is in response to this bulging to the north of the jet stream around this area of high pressure. Now I harp a lot about sea surface temperatures. I'm factoring that in my long-term outlooks, and really I think the reason we're prone to get this high out here is because of these very warm sea surface temperatures. The jet stream's going to the north and then coming down here. And that could be a winter-long pattern, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Okay, so when we look in the next 16 days, what we see next week, this dip in the jet stream, and then as we get towards the end of next week, it sort of retreats a bit. So we end up with a big push of cold air this week. I've been talking about it for a while now. And maybe towards the middle of the second week, we see it retreat a bit. So big push of cold air. Now with that push, this is on Monday, we're going to have some messy weather, both in the form of rain and even snow in the colder air as that cold air comes down. So here's the first front, some polar air behind it. Here's the second front, some Arctic air. And by Halloween, we're going to have some of the coldest temperature that we've seen for quite some time. These are near the high temperature point in the day on Halloween, so it's not going to be a nice Halloween over large parts of the middle U.S. High temperatures could only be in the 20s to into the middle 30s over parts of the upper Midwest and northern and central plains, Great Lakes states. So very chilly midweek. Now, as far as precipitation goes, with that front coming through, we're going to have to keep an eye on parts of the southeast U.S. that just recently got a lot of heavy rain. This will extend into the Kentucky and Tennessee river valleys up towards the northeast U.S. In addition, now this is out a ways and the amounts could change, but it looks like some heavy snow over large parts of Kansas and smaller parts of Nebraska and Iowa and surrounding states. So let's keep an eye on that. And again, with lots of harvesting still to go. Last I saw in Iowa, it was only 15-20% of corn harvested. We don't want that heavy, wet snow on top of that. Okay, let's look a little bit further out, 6 to 10 day. Well, we're right in the midst of the cold air. The only place where we don't expect that cold air is California and Florida. Week 2, it starts to moderate a bit, and you can see it sort of pulls up back to the north. But a cold air mass is often a stable air mass, so we see large areas of the country, once that Arctic front passes through the middle of the week, below normal precipitation. This is, every once in a while I see something here and sort of ran into this, and this is early November, November 6th. Still showing this low here, and it's still showing this high here. So as long as we have this system, this type of pattern, we're prone to these pushes of Arctic air pushing south. And we could be saying the first part of November could also be colder than normal over a large part of the middle U.S. Now, as far as hazards go this week, I want to point out we still have an extreme fire danger over parts of California and other parts of the southwest U.S. over the next couple days. And other than that, we have a lot of this blue lines, a lot of cold temperatures. I've talked about that, and some heavy rain ahead of that front passing through. So that's pretty much this week's briefing. A lot of action going on. I think the big trend is colder and eventually drier. The short term is going to be the fire risk, heavy rain and snow during the transition to the colder air. That's this week's briefing. Have a great week.